604 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. We are starting you off at, am I getting this right? 30 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. What's up, everybody? Getting you ready for a Tuesday show. Going to be a little bit all over the map today. Let me give you that guest rundown real quick before we hit up top stories. Jeff Crouere, host of Ringside Politics, going to join us coming up in about a half an hour from right now. What's the latest down in New Orleans in the wake of the terror attack? In our 7 o'clock hour, Lori Melancon from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber going to join us. Chamber taking kind of a new vision here, going to be more of an economic development arm than a traditional chamber arm. We're going to talk about, we're going to talk with Lori about what that means, what that entails, what it looks like for you and me. 7:35, Dr. Cade Brumley, our State Superintendent of Education, going to join us. More improvement being shown in the classroom, but I also want to talk with Dr. Brumley about yesterday's moment of silence as there were the acknowledgement of the 14 people who were killed in New Orleans on that New Year's morning. Introducing that into the classroom in a healthy way, in a respectful way. I think it's an important conversation to have. Also, we've got Mike Wattigny from the Louisiana Marathon joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. The marathon is coming up next weekend? I mean, it is here, y'all. And then Ross Jackson from LouisianaSports.net going to join us at 8:35. Let's talk about the Saints coaching search as well. But before we get into that, top stories and trending. Let's roll.
Number 5.
District Attorney Hiller Moore addressed the Baton Rouge Press Club yesterday. His office is facing a monumental backlog in cases, and he's seeking a property tax increase to help staff up for that battle. Even with a boost in revenue, Moore says it's going to take some time to get back on track. Moore is slated to join us next Monday to go into further detail about his office's situation.
Number 4.
Sid Edwards has named Lon Vicknair as his chief of staff. Vicknair is a retired naval officer, most recently served as a senior commercial manager for PSC Group, managing logistic and sustainability operations in multiple chemical facilities around the state, actually throughout the region, Louisiana, Texas, Tennessee, and even over in California. He also volunteers as a reserve police officer up in Central.
Number 3.
Folks in the Lake Beaupre area near LSU are on alert. There have been numerous incidents of someone creeping in the neighborhood, jumping fences, checking door handles, etc. The person is on a number of videos from Ring doorbells, but has yet to be identified.
Number 2.
BRPD officer said 30-year-old Leonard Browder was shot while driving and crashed his car near the corner of Shelley Street and Alamonster Drive around 4 p.m. yesterday. Officers were flagged down to the car wreck. They found Browder lying in a field, realized he had been shot. He was taken to a hospital where he later passed away. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers at 344-STOP.
Number 1.
Heading over to the eastern portion of the parish, this crosses over into Ascension, I guess. A portion of Old Perkins Road is blocked at Swamp Road due to a house fire that's going on right now. The Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office said the road was blocked around a half an hour ago due to this fire. No injuries were reported, but if you are out that way, Old Perkins Road is going to be blocked for a little while. What's trending there, John?
Well, as predicted, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced his upcoming resignation.
Yep. Yeah.
He did.
Got that done yesterday. I mean, he hasn't resigned yet.
Right.
But when he is replaced, he's basically tipping over that first domino to get him out of there.
He is, and he's been there 9 years, right?
I believe that's right.
Yep. Yeah, the party apparently has been urging him to step down. He
Okay.
said in an interview this country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election. So
Interesting.
yeah.
All right.
In other news, President Joe Biden continues to get praised for signing the Social Security Fairness Act into law on Sunday.
Yeah. So, all right, all good things. It's been signed into
Right.
law. Going to help a ton of people. But you know whose name has not been in any of the news coverage?
Oh, let me guess. You know what? Just tell me.
I'd be Garrett Graves.
Yeah.
All right, like the dude who wrote it, the dude who put it together, the dude who went to battle. I mean, and I don't know why I'm taking this. Like, am I taking it personally? Maybe because
Well,
it's our congressman.
Exactly.
And he's on his way out, and this was like his big last finishing, this is his closing act here. And all the links, all the co-sponsors, all the hurdles, all the blockage, everything that has been, when we noted it, it was noted every Wednesday on this show in our DC Current segment presented by LABI. Every Wednesday he'd come on hammering away. What's the latest on WEP and GPO? WEP and GPO. We get to learn those two acronyms over and over and over again. And guess what? Hey, Joe Biden did it, everybody.
Yeah.
He wrote his name on a piece of paper. Mission friggin' accomplished.
Put his stamp on it, and everything else is overlooked.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But look, here's an interesting pairing. Mark Zuckerberg has asked Dana White to join Meta's board of directors.
I don't understand this. I do and I don't.
Right. On one hand, you get it. I mean, Zuckerberg has, both Trump supporters, right? I mean, we both
No, well,
very vocal.
traditionally, Zuckerberg has been on the other side.
But he has donated, I think, $1 million toward his
Right.
inauguration.
Right. When you look across the aisle and you see that you already lost,
Yeah.
it's time, if you can't beat them, buy them.
Hey.
And that's where he's at now. And with adding Dana White to the board of directors, that's
And he's been pretty vocal about admiring Dana as an entrepreneur and his ability to build the UFC into such a beloved brand. But
I read the exact same thing you did.
yeah,
I don't remember any of that. When was he vocal about that? Like, I know you say you said it, but I need receipts, boss.
Right.
Picture it didn't happen.
That's what we see a lot now, right? Like you said, if you can't join him, buy him, and Zuckerberg has no problem with that. He'll throw his money in that corner.
Yeah. All right. 611 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We got a break coming up on the back end of that break. Talk a little LSU men's basketball. They are on the road tonight. Looking forward to that. We'll chat about that and maybe a little Saints football talk as well next. Before we hit that break, though, got to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. It is carnival time. It is Mardi Gras season. That means, well, A, hitting the parade route, and B, hitting the Mardi Gras ball. If you're hitting the parade route, you got Mathern's downtown right there for you, okay? Didn't bring enough cold beer with you? Swing on by. Needed to grab some snacks for the kids? Swing on by. They're right in between 3rd and 4th is Mathern's, and they're right there on the route. When Orion or Artemis or whomever makes that turn by the Capitol Park Museum and then heads up 4th Street, it's just another block up to get to Mathern's. So if you're out on the route, easy stop by to reload if you didn't bring enough tailgating goods along the way. Now, flip the coin over here. If it's time for the ball, if you're all tucked up and ready to go, who's got you covered for the food that you're bringing to the ball? Did someone ask you to bring a tray of sandwiches, maybe some boudin balls, maybe some chicken fingers? Get stocked up at Mathern's. Now, for this, I'm going to send you to Mathern's.com. They've revamped the website to make it so much easier to take care of your catering needs. Mathern's.com has got you covered. You'll pick it up in the Nicholson location. It's Mathern's. I'm looking right now. No, no cuts. Six 616, Talk 1073 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. It is sports time. Well, we're going to get into sports in just a second. I do need to remind you it is also counted down to Washington Mardi Gras. Talk 1073 is heading back to our nation's capital to celebrate Washington Mardi Gras. Me and Gordy Rush are going to be up there January 23rd and the 24th. Of course, we'll have this show both days, Thursday and Friday, that we're up there. But there's also a special afternoon drive show as well. It'll run 4 to 6 local time, 4 to 6 p.m. local time. And, we'll be covering Washington Mardi Gras inside and out. There's so much that goes on at Washington Mardi Gras where business leaders, politicos, philanthropists, just about everybody converges on the Washington Hilton. 1919 Connecticut Avenue. You can't miss it. It's business the way that only Louisiana knows how to do it. There's a good bit of fun mixed into that, but all day long, there's meetings going on, there's seminars going on, there's speakers, there's get-togethers, there's conversations in the hallway. There's so much. All converges on this one weekend or 1 week, and we want to bring it to you. And we're not the only ones, by the way, because our coverage is presented by Presley Wealth Management, Rev, and the National Wildlife Federation. Washington Mardi Gras, January 23rd and 24th from our end. All right, before we get to LSU men's basketball, we got to move over to Jacksonville real quick because Black Monday was not that much of a Black Monday. Black Monday in the NFL usually includes more than a handful of firings of head coaches. Yesterday, the Jaguars fired Doug Peterson. Add his name to the list of the other 4 head coaches that have already been let go. So now you have 5 NFL jobs that are open. Any breaking down of those NFL jobs, the Saints job being one of them, probably doesn't look all that attractive right now. Short term, doesn't look all that attractive right now. But long term, and you look at some of the other franchises that are going to be hiring right now and how perennially they just prove to be bad franchises. So you got New Orleans, you got Jacksonville, you got the Jets, you got the Patriots, and you got the Bears. I don't know how you would rank those. Probably Patriots and Bears would be 1 and 2 in either order. But, I mean, if you're the Jaguars, you're sitting with the pretty short-term conversation, the pretty short-term situation, I should say. But it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. You don't know if that franchise is going to be there next year. And if you're the Jets, well, then for crying out loud, you're just the Jets. There's no real surprises on how things have played out for them in the past. Meanwhile, moving from the NFL over to college basketball, LSU men's basketball is at it tonight. Late tip-off, 8 p.m. tip-off tonight. The Tigers are on the road for the first time in conference play. Going to be at Missouri. You will hear it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Tigers come into this game at 11-3 overall, 0-1 in conference. Missouri is 11-3, 0-1 in conference. The SEC is as legit can be this year in basketball. So wins where you can get them, you got to snag them. If you're LSU, a road win especially, my goodness, this is it's kind of a big deal. So 8 p.m. tip-off, 7:30 pregame. Chris Blair, John Brady will be on the call over on Eagle 98.1. Right now it's 6:20 at Talk 107.3 FM. Let's get the Fox Business Report. Good morning, Christy. Welcome in, boo. I say that I'm not even on Facebook yet, so I don't even know if you're there. Oh. Oh. Took some nighttime Mucinex last night. Crazy dreams.
I wish I could remember my dreams.
Snakes everywhere.
Snakes.
Snakes.
Dang.
I know. Like, so much so that I, like, woke up, like, flinging them off me. And, like, it's just the weirdest. Like, I woke up, like, ah! And then I get up this morning, come to find out I have a water bottle right next to the bed.
Yeah.
And I knocked over my water bottle.
Oh.
So my book that's sitting on the nightstand is now soaked.
Oh,
I think it's so. Well, I mean, I'm fumbling around in the dark because I don't want to wake her up, but
right.
oh,
man.
I know.
Dang.
I know. Craziness.
Yeah, dreams like that are always a trip.
We're going to start you up on I-12 westbound coming in from Denham Springs. A lot of congestion over there right by Range Avenue. In fact, it goes from yellow to red for just a little bit if you're coming in from Livingston Parish. It'll slow down again once you get past O'Neill all the way up to about Millerville, and then it'll slow down again once you get closer to the 10-12 merge. I-10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish is looking great. 10 eastbound coming in from West Baton Rouge is looking great. There is a, you know what, let's go back to 12 westbound. The reason it's so slow going by Millerville is there's a stalled vehicle. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, there's a stalled vehicle, 12 westbound in between Millerville and Sherwood. That's what's causing some of that congestion up there. On your surface streets, it's looking like, oh, you know what? Let me add to the mix here. Back up on I-110 southbound, there is congestion being reported near Convention. Or I guess that'd be like your last exit, Convention and Government. There's no Convention exit. By the Government Street exit, if you're on 110 southbound, right before you hit I-10, it's being reported, but I'm not showing it on the map. So we'll let you know that it's being reported, that it's out there. Surface streets, we do still have that problem over off of Old Perkins Road. The road is blocked due to a house fire. It's Old Perkins near Swamp Road. If that's part of your morning commute coming in from Ascension Parish, be on the lookout for that. That's your look at traffic from the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center. .625, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Yes, we are looking at freezing temperatures to start off your Tuesday morning, and those sub-freezing temperatures will continue throughout the week. We got 30 degrees right now. Probably going to dip down another degree or two as the sun starts to come up. That temperature does always drop by another degree or two before it starts to start warming up again. We are looking at a repeat of this for tomorrow morning as well. So icy cold temperatures to be sure. The good news is we don't have any precipitation back in the forecast until the temperature starts to warm up just a little bit. So your high today, not going to get up too high, but we won't stay frozen all day long. The high today is supposed to get up to almost 50 degrees. We'll get up to 49 before it's all said and done, which is cold, yes, but not like freeze the pipes, burst the pipes cold. If you ran a little trickle down your in the bathtub last night, all good and everything, but it's not going to stay frozen overnight. It's not, or throughout the day. So you don't have to keep it running throughout the day. If you want to reset that again tonight, we're getting back down to 29, 30 degrees tomorrow morning as well. We are looking at rain back in the forecast again on Friday, but we're not going to be back down to freezing like the night before or the day of. So if you're on the lookout for snow, I don't think we're going to see anything. Maybe on Friday if the rain pushes back a little bit, but probably not. Probably not. It's just cold. All right. Yesterday, District Attorney Hiller Moore was at the press club, and he's going to join us coming up on Monday in the 8 o'clock hour. District Attorney Hiller Moore is going to be asking for a property tax increase on a ballot coming up. I don't know if it's February's or March's. Might even be all the way back to May. But his office has just been awash. His office has been swamped for a good 5 years now, maybe even more than that. He ran down some homicide numbers at the press club yesterday that, look, we talk about them every single day. They're in top stories and trending every single day. Here's what the district attorney told the press club yesterday.
So we ended the year at 113 compared to last year at 102, equal really with 2022 at 112 homicides. But as you see, the biggest number, most murderous year ever was 2021 after around the COVID years, where we whopped 151. And if you harken back a little bit to 2014, you see where we're at 63. I think a city our size should be around 45 to 50. Historically, given other cities our size.
Moore told the press club he's got 56 to 58 assistant DAs. It might sound like a pretty decent staff until you look at Jefferson Parish has 70 to 75, and Orleans Parish has at least 80, and we're bigger than those individually. Or the 19th JDC is bigger than those individually. So when you look at what he's got staffed up in order to fight this battle in a courtroom. And believe me, the courtroom is one of the only places you can fight this battle. Otherwise, you just see police arresting the same people over and over and over again, right? So if you rack up 113 homicides in a year where you're already backlogged by numerous years worth of cases, and we're not talking about just the homicides. I mean, he told the press club there are 230 homicide cases in the pipeline right now. And then when you add in all the lesser crimes as well, you end up neck deep. You end up where you can't wade your way out of the water. A backlog like that is going to take something unbelievably huge to flip it, to get out of it. So when we talk with District Attorney Hiller Moore on Monday, that's going to be the topic, is the property tax. Now, that's his only outlet to staff up, to get more people on board. That's going to be his path to it. For folks like you and me, the consideration is going to have to be, why is it always this way? Why is it always more taxes? Why is it that when we want to build a new library, we had a new tax for a new library, but once that library is built, the tax remains the same? Why is it when, and look, I'm a huge supporter of BRAC. I love BRAC, right? We just approved 2 new taxes for BRAC. Well, re-upped taxes for BRAC, excuse me. But when we look at the pool of all the money, can we not say, hey, somebody else, a different division needs it for a little while? Oh, we're going to talk about decommitting in the very near future. Here is news. Morning, y'all. I see everybody in there. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Sharpen my pencil. Be right back. Oh. I can't get coffee in me fast enough this morning.
This is not hidden?
Just shaking off everything from last night. With
Yeah.
so I did have a drink earlier in the evening, and then I took a shot of Mucinex, so I wouldn't be coughing all night long. Because this is 3 nights in a row where every time I lay on my back, I just start coughing. So and I don't fall asleep. I sleep on my side, but I don't fall asleep on my side. Does that make sense? Like I gotta be like on the brink of sleep and then like turn on my side, or else I'll just wake wide up. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Anyway, with the Mucinex and just the it wasn't restful sleep. It was restlessness all night long. And it was nighttime Mucinex too.
Yeah. Yeah, that can make for a miserable next day.
Yeah. Jeez. It's okay. I got a Celsius up in the fridge. If the coffee doesn't kick in, I'm going. Yeah. After that, I'm gonna see what Charlie Sheen's got going on. Yes, we are at freezing to start off your Tuesday morning here with your full forecast. Is Cade Cowan. Yeah, because I got LSU basketball tonight. That's an 8 p.m. tip-off, which means I'm going to be hauling up in here tomorrow morning. Whew. I need to put together tomorrow's show with the quickness. And I don't have Garrett. And Franz is out of the country. I'm sure Richard can fill in. I just... .637 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Yes, we are at 30 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Time to check in down in New Orleans. Joining us as he does every Tuesday morning is Jeff Crouere. Jeff, good morning. How are you, man?
Hey, Brian. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. I mean, albeit we take that phrase with a grain of salt this year, though, don't we?
Yeah, it's been a rough few days for New Orleans. Really has. I mean, a really sad time for the city. You know, a time of celebration, New Year's Eve, always a big celebration, Sugar Bowl, and then to have that happen is just it's infuriating because, of course, the proper security procedures weren't taken.
How big of a deal is that? And okay. Because what I want this morning is the pulse from inside the city. I mean, we can get all the news from ABC, blah blah blah. We know all those, but the pulse from inside the city. How much of that is looked as at Monday morning quarterbacking, and how much of that is like those security measures? That's a big fail.
Well, you know, the powers that be are trying to just sort of put on the call for unity and to say, hey, let's not focus on that. Let's focus on moving forward and, you know, don't bring up anything political, divisive. But I think, the average man and woman, the average person doesn't buy that. I mean, yeah, they don't want to, of course, forget the victims. They don't want to forget those who lost their lives, the ones that are injured, and, of course, continue to pray for them. But, I mean, I think they want answers as to what happened. I mean, how in the world did this happen? I mean, this is monumental. You don't protect one of the world's busiest streets with pedestrian thoroughfare during one of the busiest nights with one squad car. I mean, that's not adequate. That's not sufficient. The police chief, who is, someone who's coming under a lot of ridicule, I think justified. I mean, because the terrorists had defeated their security and was hell bent on killing people. Yes, he was. But it was made very easy for him. So lots of questions. I know the AG is going to do an investigation. City Council wants to begin an investigation. I mean, it's not the best of relations between the City Council and the mayor.
No.
So,
well, and you couple that with we are starting off a year where there's going to be a mayor's race. So it's like there is legitimate investigation, there's legitimate critiquing, and then there's making it political for your own gain coming up this fall. Are we already to the point where we're seeing that line being drawn?
Well, you saw the morning of the incident, Helena Moreno and Oliver Thomas, angling for airtime.
Right.
They were both. I mean, Oliver Thomas was actually first down there, and Helena Moreno later. And of course, the city council said they're going to launch an investigation, and Oliver Thomas said he's going to launch his own investigation. So we'll have lots of investigations going on, Brian.
Oh, fantastic! You never have enough investigations. It's like not having enough environmental studies when you go to build a bridge. I don't know what one the hard part here, Jeff, is they're needed. They're needed, but we don't know which one is needed, and I guess we won't know until they're done.
Right. And it needs to go back several years. It needs to go back to when this initially was envisioned by Mitch Landrieu, the $40 million that were allocated. The fact that these bollards really never worked appropriately.
Yeah.
And now the new plan is being ridiculed as being insufficient. So that's why the mayor says that she wants to have experts come down here and look at our plan. Well, I mean, where has she been for the past few years? I mean, this has been ongoing for a long time. I mean, maybe if she didn't go to as many climate change conferences and focus more on security in her city, we wouldn't be in this position.
Wait, that's such a good question, though, right? Because at the same time, though, would it have ever come up?
It has come up. And the answer was we're going to have it ready for the Super Bowl. And we're, working on having everything ready for the Super Bowl. Well, before you get to the Super Bowl, you got to get through Bayou Classic. You got to get through New Year's Eve and something called the Sugar Bowl, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just insanity that they would overlook one of the big events of the year because we want to be ready for the Super Bowl. And then they advertised the locations where these bollards were not working. And I don't know what kind of investigation this terrorist did. We know he came down here a few times prior. He seemed to be pretty aware of everything. I guess he scoped it out not only a few times before, but a few hours before, putting the various bombs throughout the French Quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So he figured out how he was going to do it. And he defeated. I mean, it's like the Keystone Cops. I mean, their plan. I mean, it's just breathtaking that was their plan. So
let's talk about the bollards.
They put a lot of people in danger.
No, I know. The bollards themselves. First, the guy got 3 blocks in, and he hit a piece of construction equipment. It looked like a cherry picker or whatever. Were the bollards up after that though? Because I mean, anybody who knows Bourbon Street knows. Those first 3 blocks, once you get past those first 3 blocks, once you get past, like, let's say the Royal Sonesta, that's where the crowd really thickens up. Were there bollards beyond that point?
I don't think there were bollards, and I wasn't down there that night. I was almost down there because there was an event that we were invited to. We almost went to, so we were almost down there. But we weren't down there that night. I don't think there was. What he ran into was a light tower. Was a crane providing light for Bourbon Street.
Mm-hmm.
And if not for that light tower, I mean, he could have killed who knows how many.
Oh, I know.
The carnage would have been a lot greater. So that's what he ran into, and that's why he got out and started shooting. And then the police bravely were able to take him out. But the police chief looks terrible. The mayor looks terrible. I think. Everybody that was involved in this and that's trying to cover it up, there needs to be, a thorough, quick investigation because, again, we've got a Super Bowl that you and I have been talking about for months, the city getting ready.
Yeah.
Super Bowl coming, in a few weeks.
Yeah, and the Super Bowl coming up. We'll get to the Super Bowl part in a minute. The mayor and the police chief, let's talk about them for just a second. Not to be dismissive of LaToya, but look, she's been checked out for some time now. I don't think anybody was expecting a lot of her. Ann Kirkpatrick, however, has been getting, let's say, B's on her report card since taking the job. Does this completely dismantle the work that she's done so far?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she has lost all credibility. I mean, the archers are what is put in place on the sidewalks. And then she later said, oh, well, we have the archers out now. We had them, but I didn't know about it. Well, that's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. And I really do think she should be fired. That's not going to happen, though, because her boss is Latoya Cantrell.
Right.
So where the city's going to be stuck with both of them until a new mayor comes in, and I would hope a new mayor would bring in a new police chief. And I know there's the argument of whether you have someone from internal or someone from external, but how about someone who knows what's going on and knows the history and the tradition of the city and how to protect people? And she obviously doesn't.
Yeah, and it's just, and that to me, that was the bigger surprise, was the fact that she'd been doing so well, and then just completely decimated by with her comments about just not knowing the capabilities of the city and not knowing the potential dangers that could have come from it. We're talking with Jeff Crouere, host of Ringside Politics down in New Orleans. All right, Jeff, I want to ask about moving forward to towards the Super Bowl. There, we're moving up to another level of security all around. What's the vibe on that front? Like, how are people feeling about the Super Bowl? Is it about time, or are they feeling like, after 9/11, the safest place to be in the world was in an airport, right? Like, so,
right?
Is that what New Orleans is right now?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think there's a feeling that there are going to be so many security people in place that the city will be protected. I mean, this is going to be the focus of not only everybody in New Orleans, but also the state. You got to remember, Jeff Landry has really been very involved and has promised not only beefed up state police, but National Guard.
Yeah.
And I think that's an extra level of security that people appreciate. I mean, and, got all the federal attention now, and the president coming down here yesterday. And it seems like that there will be a lot of eyeballs on this, and that this will be a secure city for the Super Bowl. And we'll get through the Super Bowl, but I think we've got to get to the bottom of what happened here. And, long term, the situation has to be handled so that, we do have the proper bollards or archers or whatever it takes to make sure that is a secure street. And I'd like to see it as pedestrian only.
All right, I was kind of holding that topic off a little bit because I feel like that's a topic for an entire conversation. But let's dig into it. I'm with you. Pedestrian only, Bourbon Street, but you're talking about a good 12, 13 blocks worth that it would take. But you've also got residential in the mix here. I mean, it's not like Beale Street, right? It's so much bigger.
Right. I mean, that is a working street. That's a street for homeowners. You're right. That's a street that has lots of other activities going on other than just people partying. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that has to be figured out how that's going to happen. But I really do think that is the long-term answer here, as opposed to, having opportunities for people to drive down that street and go back and forth the way they do. I mean, I think that would make it more secure. And then we figure out how to get the business folks and the residents to their homes and their businesses on Bourbon.
Yeah.
That needs to be, I think, figured out, long term. I just think that is the long term answer here. But in the meantime, they've got to get the bollards fixed, and we've got to figure out why the plan that they came up with has just been rated by a security official as insufficient. And supposedly the barriers that they're purchasing, they're going to be using, he rated as the least secure measure that we could possibly have. So, I don't know who's coming up with these plans, who's watching all of this, but it's just it's not adequate, Brian.
That's where we're going to have to call it for today. He's Jeff Crouere. You got a show coming up, man. Well, I always appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. It's 6:50. Here's your money now. Am I going to need to go get my space heater? Freezing my balls. Oh, okay. Let's see that birthday today.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
Maybe you should lead with that one. If it's a big one.
It's not a big one. It's an actor.
We got some I'm looking at too, and I'm like, what is this? Has Jesus entered the Facebook chat? Chosen Jesus? Or is it Jesus? Or good morning, how are you doing? How are you doing, Jesus? Domo arigato.
I'm going to do my parish here. 656 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. President Joe Biden made a visit to New Orleans yesterday. Going to talk about that in just a minute. Why just a minute? Because I need a minute to tell you about the folks over at Parish Construction and Roofing. 364-1007 is the phone number, 364-1007, or you can do like I did and visit parishbuilt.com. Hop on the website, fill out the little form that's on the homepage, get Parish over to your house, get them up on your roof to see if you need a new roof. Look, I'm speaking as an unbelievably happy customer. They made this so easy. The process of replacing my roof, so easy from start to finish. From meeting with the insurance adjuster, to picking up the shingles, to the installation, to putting everything back the way it was before they even got there. It has been, I hesitate to use the word because it's putting a roof on my house, but it's been an enjoyable experience. They say do business with someone you know, and that's not just a catchy tagline. That's something that they mean. That's something that they take to heart. That's something that they practice on a day-to-day basis. For me, my guy was Zach. I was teamed up with Zach the whole time. If I needed anything, I could call him. I could text him. He was either going to answer my call or call me right back. The whole way through the process, Zach was there for me. So when they say do business with someone I know Zach. He's my guy. It's parishbuilt.com is the website, parishbuilt.com. President Joe Biden was in New Orleans yesterday, meeting with mourners over at St. Louis Cathedral to remember the 14 people killed in the terror attack on Bourbon Street on New Year's Day. Towards the end of you heard this in our news at the bottom of the hour, towards the end of the service, Biden said, the shock and pain are still very raw.
My wife Jill and I are here to stand with you, to grieve with you, to pray with you, to let you know you are not alone.
He talked about how moving forward, things are still going to be difficult.
You think of everything, everyday things, the small things, the details you'll miss the most. The morning coffee you shared together, the bend of his smile, the perfect pitch of her laugh.
The president also went on to talk about the people of New Orleans and just that strength that's there in NOLA.
New Orleans defines strength and resilience. You define it, whether it's in the form of this attack, or hurricanes or superstorms. This city and its people get back up.
It was at St. Louis Cathedral, but it was an interfaith service. I appreciate the sentiment. Let's talk over on Facebook Live. We're hitting news here at the top of the hour. ABC News coming your way. Hour 2 is on the way after that. But I want to talk over on Facebook Live. What's your take on situations like that? Should that be just family and friends? I realize it's a headline-grabbing tragic event. But should that be a lot more personal and a lot more private? Let's talk on Facebook Live. On air, here comes news. All right, guys, run with me here for just a second. Joe Biden didn't know anybody that was killed in this attack. You give a damn what he has to say about someone's laugh or someone's smile or drinking coffee with somebody? Like, am I so jaded and cynical that I see shit like that and I call bullshit from jump? Like, you don't know these people. You don't really give a damn. You don't really care. You're acting like you care. And you're going to walk out of this room and, well, quite honestly, you're going to forget you were even there. But, like, Joe Biden jokes aside, it's a political show. And, I would say the same damn thing if it was a Republican. Where are y'all at on this? Let me know. I've never been to Denver before. Byron says a good speechwriter would have gotten personal anecdotes about the victims from the family. I think those were like the morning coffee. Well, it's so effing generic. Yeah.
What do you call it, New Orleans? Just one Orleans.
Oh, just one Orleans?
Just one Orleans.
New Orleans? Regarding Joe Biden's talking points, that's all they are. Political talking points, well rehearsed and from rote memory. Well, I guess, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to do this. Galen, I guess it's a good thing that he's still got memory. I'm sorry. You put that on a T for me, boss. That's too effing easy. Yeah, it was way too generic.
Keith says there was no reason for President Biden to go to New Orleans. Which,
See, and he's
right. I know
he's right.
Kind of teeter-totter between.
He's right, but if you don't go, and Renee says how many tragedies has he not shown up to?
Exactly.
But what's the line though? When this was called a terror attack all New Year's Day long,
yeah,
and every day since then.
Yeah.
You go to New Orleans, you hold a separate press conference. You speak with other officials, right?
Right.
Okay, Keith, let me ask you this. If he had gone to New Orleans and talked with the chief of police and talked with the mayor and talked with the governor and talked with the FBI and talked with ATF, and then all of them come out to give a little press conference, and the president says, yes, today we mourn, but tomorrow we move forward. Yes, I've talked with the people who are in charge, and I have full faith that they're going to carry the city forward. And then he gets out of New Orleans and goes away. Like, I have a lot less of a problem with that than I do with showing up at the damn funeral. It wasn't a funeral. It was an interfaith prayer service. But there's a level of personalness that you're not a part of this club. Galen, it was funny. .705 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. We are at 30 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge to start off the second hour of the show this morning. When are we going to be back up above freezing? Probably before the show is over with, to be sure. By 9 o'clock, we should be all the way up to a scorching 34, 35. By the way, expect a little bit more of this tomorrow morning as well. We'll get back down below freezing again tonight into tomorrow morning. You heard the forecast from Cade Cowan. I don't have to repeat it right now. Coming up this hour, we got Lori Melancon, President and CEO of the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, slated to join us in our next segment. What's the Chamber's priorities for 2025? What's it look like moving forward? How are they going to attack economic development? Bit of a revision of the game plan over there at the chamber, that they're not going to be focusing like a traditional chamber of commerce, but more focusing on economic development moving forward. That was one of the bigger headlines towards the end of last year. What's that going to look like in real life, though? We'll talk with Lori Melancon in our next segment. Also this hour, State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Cade Brumley, joins us at 7:35. Reading scores are up, K through 3. That's part of the conversation we're going to have. Bigger conversation I want to have with Dr. Brumley is about yesterday's moment of silence, because it's important. It's important that our kids learn about life and death the right way, and it's introduced respectfully. And we're going to talk about all that in our next segment. Right now, though, top stories and trending. Let's roll.
Number 5.
Well, as you would get with colder temperatures, you're going to get a number of fires. There was the one off of Old Perkins Road by Swamp Road, had Old Perkins Road shut down this morning. Also, a home was ruled a total loss after an early morning fire. East Side Fire Department said crews arrived to a home on Ponderosa to find the fire. No homeowners were present. No injuries were reported. However, the home is a total loss. Also saw a story at WBRZ.com yesterday. A squatter started a fire in a house here in Baton Rouge. That home is a total loss as well.
Number 4.
District Attorney Hiller Moore addressed the Baton Rouge Press Club yesterday. His office is facing a monumental backlog in cases. He is seeking a property tax increase to help staff up for that battle. Now, even with a boost in revenue, Moore says it's going to take some time to get back on track. He is slated to join us next Monday to go into further details about his office's situation.
Number 3.
Sid Edwards has named Lon Vickner as his chief of staff. Vickner is a retired naval officer. Most recently serves as a senior commercial manager for PSC Group, managing logistic and sustainability operations in multiple chemical facilities here in Louisiana, over in Texas, up in Tennessee, and way out west in California. Vickner also volunteers as a reserve police officer in Central.
Number 2.
Folks in the Lake Beaupre area near LSU are on alert. There have been numerous incidents of someone creeping in the neighborhood, jumping fences, checking door handles, and the like. He's been showing up on Ring doorbell videos, but has yet to be identified.
Number 1.
BRPD officer said 30-year-old Leonard Browder was shot while driving and crashed his car near the corner of Shelley Street and Alamonster Drive around 4 p.m. yesterday. Officers were flagged down to the car wreck. They found Browder lying in a field, realized he had been shot. He was taken to a hospital where he died. Anyone with information about this incident is asked to call Crime Stoppers at 344-STOP. All right, John, what's trending?
As predicted, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced his upcoming resignation after 9 years.
Yep, he quits.
He gone.
That's, I took 4 years of French in high school and 3 more semesters of French in college, and I can't remember how to say I quit. Je quit. I don't remember how to say it.
Je quit?
Yeah. I got to hit up my oldest daughter. She's in her 4th year of French at SJA.
Yeah.
I bet she knows how to. But she better not know the word quit. Damn it.
And of course, his party has been urging him to step down for quite some
Yeah,
time.
I know.
To which he said, "This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election."
Is it too obvious of a joke to say he's more French Canadian because he surrenders?
Yeah. In other news, President Joe Biden continues to get praise for signing the Social Security Fairness Act into law on Sunday.
Yeah.
And
look, if you were listening last hour, you already know how perturbed I am about this. I'm super thrilled that the law got passed. I'm super thrilled that it's signed into law. I'm super thrilled that the penalties for those who have elected as their careers to serve others, that you will no longer be penalized. That is awesome. Let's get that out of the way first. I'm just taking it personally because week after week, we have Congressman Garrett Graves on every single week for DC Current, presented by LABI.
yeah, we do.
And every single week, we get to hear those acronyms, WEP and GPO. WEP and GPO. The windfall elimination provision. We heard it over and over and over again. And the congressman picked up this rock and carried it and got co-sponsor after co-sponsor until it was impossible for it to fail. And then it went over to the Senate, where Senator Bill Cassidy picked it up and said, "Garrett, I got you from here." And they both carried the day. Where's their names in this? Joe Biden gave it his autograph. That's it. That's it.
Just
and
asking
Joe
to give
Biden
credit.
got it done.
Yeah.
I just
Asking to give credit where
oh,
credit's
that's
due,
all
right?
I'm saying.
That's all we want.
All I'm saying is credit where credit is due. Who did the heavy lifting?
Right.
And then who just inked their name?
Yeah. That was heavy lifting, right? Lifting that pin to
Yeah.
sign his name.
Hey,
Hey,
you're a heavy pen, man. No joke.
here's an interesting pairing. Mark Zuckerberg has asked Dana White to join Meta's board of directors.
I'm in.
Yeah?
If Zuckerberg is in, I'm in.
Yeah.
If we're turning this
Got
corner here to where Mark Zuckerberg is donating millions to the Trump transition,
Right.
he's bringing on Dana White for his board of directors
That's
meetings.
it.
I can't wait to move everything into this arena, this unbelievably weird marriage.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
you said last hour, right? If you can't join him, buy him.
If you can't beat him,
If you can't beat him,
right?
buy
If
him.
you can't beat him, buy him.
That's it. Fascinating, though. Fascinating pairing, to say the least.
You remember the movie The Social Network?
Yes.
Basically, all of Facebook was started so he can impress a girl.
That was it.
Yeah. Like social insecurities led to where we are today. And it's just a matter of, hey, you guys like me yet?
At whatever cost, right? Whatever cost.
713 to Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We're running a little bit long. We got Lori Melancon from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber joining us next.
Yeah, man. Lori, is she calling in or? She's calling in. Okay. Keith said New Orleans was just a stop on the Biden farewell tour.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Oh, I don't even need this one. There she is.
Studio.
Oh, holy hell. .715 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hey, Coach Kim Mulkey and the LSU Tigers hit the road to face Tennessee Thursday at 5:30 p.m. You can hear the Tigers all season long on your home for LSU women's basketball. That would be Talk 107.3 FM. So the news came out towards the end of last year that the Baton Rouge Area Chamber is going to be focused more on economic development. Let's dive in. Let's talk about priorities for 2025. Joining us now, the president and CEO of the Chamber. That would be Ms. Lori Melancon. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? I'm great.
Very well on this end as well. Let's talk about 2025 priorities. Where are we headed from the Chamber's perspective?
Look, 2025 is lining up to be an exciting year for the Capital Region. We have a really strong pipeline, business development pipeline of projects that are considering the region for investment with the incredible infrastructure that we have here, from several different perspectives. We are well positioned to take advantage of the energy transition. No matter where our politics might lead, that energy transition is upon us, and the Capital Region is poised for significant investment over the next several years, and we've just got to be prepared to capture it and to keep it circulating in the region. And then within all of that investment, as technology is continuing to evolve and develop, we have a real opportunity to capitalize on the existing infrastructure, the sophistication of the things that we have built here, everything from bridges and pumps to our industrial facilities up and down the river, and then the incredible natural infrastructure that we have with our coastline and the river, to apply technology to that for this next wave of how the world is going to manage their infrastructure investments. So I really am bullish on the future of the Capital Region. I think we have a lot of opportunity ahead of us, both things that we understand now and that we've proven to do well, but ways that we can excel in the future.
We're talking with Lori Melancon from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Lori, what's Baton Rouge really good at?
Baton Rouge is really good at ingenuity. You know, this region has built some of the most sophisticated structures in the world. We are really good at solving problems. We are really good at coming together and working together and connecting with one another. You know, there's something really interesting in the ethos of this community that people who are from here and who have never left here really can't put their finger on it. But I've left and came back. I talked with probably 30 young professionals yesterday, and several of them who have left and come back were pointing out there is something that is real and palpable about the connectedness of this community and our ability to come together to solve problems. I'm not saying that we don't have problems to solve, but what I am saying is that we hit above our weight when we come together to solve problems. And I think that we're looking at a really exciting new chapter for Baton Rouge and for the Capital Region as we look at the opportunity ahead.
Okay, that brings me around to this direction for economic development, because you used the word bullish a little while ago. That feels like the only way to attack right now because everyone's attacking. So how do you take what Baton Rouge does well, combine it with where we want to go, and get us there?
We got to stand on the shoulders of our legacy strengths, right? You know, in the past, and I was part of that. I worked at BRAC in 2004, 2005 when we became a regional economic development organization, and at the state, beginning in 2008, I worked with LED as a consultant and then came in house. And that time we looked at all sorts of different ways that we could innovate as a state to diversify our economy, and we did some really creative, smart things. What I think is right for this next chapter is for us to stand on the shoulders of the work that we've already done and the things that we've already proven that are really strong for us. Things like construction management. That's one of the things we don't talk about enough. Our industrial contractors in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, are the best in the world. This is an incredible asset that we have, these headquarters here in Baton Rouge. They are the fabric of Baton Rouge in a way that I don't think we give enough credit to. But this innovation and this sophistication that we have in engineering, in construction, in chemistry, in science, in all of these different facets, we can stand on the shoulders of that for this next chapter of innovation that the world is going to see as we go into the future of AI, as we go into the future of IoT, as we look at how those things are going to disrupt our economy going forward.
We're talking with Lori Melancon from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Okay, so a lot of what you talked about there has to start in schools, and I know that there has been a concerted effort to make the educational experience more of a workforce experience as well. How does the Baton Rouge Area Chamber capitalize on that?
Oh, my gosh, I'm so glad you asked me about this because it is something that I'm maybe most excited about. One of the things I'm most excited about of the work that we are doing right now, we are partnering. One of the things, well, let me just say this first so that people have context. One of the things that the state is looking at is for students that in public schools statewide that are on a career pathway. So you can be on a military track in high school, a college track, that means you're at a 20 for your ACT or higher, or you're on a workforce associate's degree, accreditation, skills, certificate track. For students that are on that skills track, and we're doing incredible work in our schools. Did you know that there are students that are graduating from East Baton Rouge Parish High School public schools right now today that are getting EMT certifications and getting on an ambulance the very next day after graduation. We're doing incredible work with certifications in our public schools. But the state is looking at giving those students work-based learning in high schools. So this is an incredible opportunity. This means paid high school internships for all students on those skills tracks. That's 1,000 students a year in East Baton Rouge Parish schools. That's 60 students a year in St. Helena Parish schools. How are we going to start to think about providing those work-based learning opportunities for those students in this systemic way, not only throughout the capital region, but statewide? We're looking at what are the creative models? Walker High School has figured it out. I mean, the businesses that are operating out of Walker High School being run by students, it's incredible. We can do that system-wide, region-wide, statewide, and think about what that's going to do to prepare students for the future of work and the future of their careers. I'm pumped about this, and I think it's a really big opportunity for everyone to play in the community.
Your energy and passion are just bleeding through the phone right now. It's kind of awesome. We're talking with Lori Melancon from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. All right, one of the letters in Baton Rouge Area, one of the letters in BRAC is A for area. Let's talk about the region as a whole. And how do you plan to approach servicing the whole region while not abandoning just Baton Rouge?
Look, there is no, I mean, it is all inextricably connected, right? I mean, people from all 8 parishes that surround East Baton Rouge work in East Baton Rouge Parish. People in East Baton Rouge Parish work in the 8 surrounding parishes. We are one capital region. Business does not recognize parish lines. So this idea that we do work for one place or another, that we just have to, quit even considering that as a reality, right? We are, at BRAC, we are doubling down on our regional relationships. We've done some things systemically within the organization to make sure that we are more connected to our regional partners than we ever have before. I made it a priority in my first 100 days to visit all 9 parishes and visited with elected leaders and economic development officials in all 9 parishes. I think that as we continue to work together, as we continue to find ways to collaborate, we're going to make our region even stronger. And look, the appetite is there for it. The leaders understand that we must work together to get the things that we need for the future of the region. That includes the right transportation solutions. That includes finding the right answers around site development and incentivizing site development, whether the state's going to figure that out or if we're going to do that on the regional and local level. Workforce development doesn't know parish lines either. So these things are region-wide issues, and we're going to tackle them regionally.
You mentioned the statewide level right there. If we're talking about the region, let's broaden out to the state. What's it been like working side by side with LED?
Look, LED is in an exciting new chapter right now. Secretary Bourgeois, Page, as the director, as the leader of business development, they are refiguring out how LED is going to operate in this next chapter going forward, and it's really exciting. The state is looking at a statewide strategic plan for the first time since 2008. As someone who participated in that 2008 plan, I'm delighted to be a part of that. We've got some of the best thinkers from McKinsey on that work right now. Mm-hmm. That's going to have important implications not only for us as a region. It's going to have great input into the work we're doing with Mayor Edwards' transition team for East Baton Rouge Parish as well. I'm really excited about what LED is putting together and very, very hopeful that this is going to be a new chapter for us in economic development for Louisiana.
We're talking with Lori Melancon from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Okay, well, let's go back to energy transition. You did mention that a little while ago. Could you elaborate on what energy transition actually means as far as new jobs or new businesses?
Yeah, look, and I'm not going to be the expert on this, right? So all of my friends that know this much more intricately and intimately than I do, look, cut me a little slack, give me a little grace on this. I'm not a scientist. I'm not someone or an engineer, although I come from one. In the energy transition just means that our energy the folks that work in the energy ecosystem, from our petrochemical facilities to our refineries, they are looking at ways to do that work in a more cleaner, efficient way that is better for the environment in the long run. This is not a political issue. These companies have this as a as a goal for their companies to really make these improvements over time with deadlines. The stakeholders worldwide are committed to this. So this looks like things like carbon capture, right? And how we can continue to produce energy. We're always going to need energy. How can we produce energy in a cleaner, more efficient way for the future with less impact to our environments? And that is something that that all of our industry leaders in the capital region, and I know their home offices, are committed to as well.
Traditional energy sectors are kind of hitting the forefront when it comes to things like carbon capture and making things cleaner. How much does it make your job easier to know that, like, the Exxon Mobils of the world are embracing this new these new transitions?
We got to do it all together, right? I mean, we're in this together. We're all citizens. I was actually with Regina Davis from Exxon yesterday, and I loved the way she positioned her thinking around Exxon as a corporate citizen, just as much as her as an individual personal citizen, and how we are all citizens in this future and in this community together. And I think that we're really fortunate in the capital region to have industry leaders who care deeply about this place, who understand how special Baton Rouge is in the Gulf South and worldwide, not just for what we produce. Because, look, guys, we're going to start talking about this more and more this year. I cannot wait for us to start talking about all of the cool stuff that we make and build and create right here in the capital region. The world does not exist without Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we've got to get really proud of that. And our industry leaders understand that, and understand that the people who live here are the ones who are powering that work and that product. And we have a real opportunity to take that to the next level over the next few years.
We've got about a minute and a half left with Lori Melancon from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. If I could, in that last minute and a half, you mentioned the business development pipeline. I know y'all can never share who you're recruiting and what you're recruiting, but can you give us some hints around the periphery as to what may be to come, if nothing else, just what sectors we're looking at?
We're looking at, yeah, I mean, well, and no. No, I can't tell you much about that pipeline, but what I will tell you is you're not going to be surprised, right? Mm-hmm. We are positioned in a unique place in the country and in the world. We have these specific natural resources and specific industrial strengths. Though we're going to capitalize on those as we continue to seek new investment. But again, you've got to also think about there's going to be this really interesting new entrepreneurial activity. You have the investments in the national research coming into LSU right now. It's incredible, and that output is going to double and triple over the next several years. Their commitment there is super duper inspiring. And so you're going to see this new entrepreneurial activity building on what's happening in our universities and linking into our existing industry. So don't think that it's necessarily more of the same. It might look that way at first glance, but this is all an evolution into the next chapter of what these industries look like for the future.
She is Lori Melancon, head of the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. I've had 2 cups of coffee already this morning, and I've got more energy out of this segment than I did either of those cups. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the time this morning.
We're fired up about the future of the Baton Rouge area and excited to go to work every single day. And I just hope that all of your listeners get to be a part of that. And we look forward to working with all of you in the days and weeks and months to come, 2025.
We'll talk to you soon, Lori. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. I was trying to get out for 7, like right on 7:30. We're at 7:30 right now. By the way, I'm going to want that pull quote out of there. The world does not exist without Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Oh, I love when cynicism can just melt away and get a little bit fired up about the future. That was freaking awesome. We got Dr. Cade Brumley next. The stage is set for a good interview.
Yeah, I mean, the moment she came on, man, fired up. I love it. Love it. Yeah, just super passionate, man. That was great.
Yeah. The world does not exist without Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
champagne or champagne?
Champagne.
Is it?
Yep.
I just asked because, like, in home I was like, champagne.
Yes.
It's weird.
Anything north of Thibodeau is going to be champagne.
Isn't it? That's what I blame. Come up here and it's like, no, it's not pronounced like that. It's like, what the crap? Cade, he's calling in, or?
Yeah.
Where's it? Okay.
Démissionner is to resign.
Démissionner. Is that French?
Yeah.
Oui. Studio. Hi, good morning, sir. Yeah, we'll have you up here in just a few short minutes. All right, thank you.
Yes, it is a cold start to the morning, and we will have a cold start to tomorrow morning as well. Here with your full forecast, WBRZ meteorologist Emma Cade Cowan. .737 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Time to pivot over to the world of education. Our state superintendent of education, Dr. Cade Brumley, joins us right now. Good morning, Dr. Brumley. How are you, sir?
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me today.
Not glad to have you on this morning. We got a lot of ground to cover. I want to start with reading proficiency, but I want to make sure at the start of this interview that we dedicate some time to the moment of silence from yesterday. So let's start with K through 3 students. They're on the uptick.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's just our strategy around back to the basics and just teaching phonics and emphasizing reading in our elementary schools is paying off. Once again, we're seeing those first graders, second graders, third graders showing significant reading gains from last year to this year on our annual reading report. And so that, again, is a standardized assessment given across the entire state, and we're seeing growth. You know, what's odd about that and what people may not realize, Brian, is that up until this past year, students in the state of Louisiana in grades K through 3 did not receive a uniform reading assessment statewide. So it was really hard to even know what the status of reading levels across the state might have been up until last year, because we didn't have that in place. And so now we have that in place. Brief assessment, screener rather, 3 times a year, 5-minute type deal. And then parents get information, teachers get information. And so you can make instruction and policy decisions from that. But we are satisfied because we are seeing growth there, which is, attributed to our reading strategy and the work that teachers are doing.
The numbers within the numbers are what impresses me here, Dr. Brumley. 2023's kindergarten class grew by 20.4 points when it comes to reading as first graders. The number of times we've talked about the number of programs that have been instituted, whether you're talking about the Steve Carter literacy program, which the overall initiative now, but when it got started as a literacy program for the Steve Carter program, when you talk about the heavy dose tutoring and all these other things, when you see numbers like this start in kindergarten moving to first grade, that's telling me that we're doing something right on the front end. We're not going to have to do as much work on the back end.
Yeah, those numbers from students who were kindergartners to their first grade year, so from kids moving over the course of their kindergarten years experienced in the first grade, they are dramatic in terms of an increase. And I just really think that is just about that comprehensive strategy around phonics. We have tried to eliminate all these confusing strategies of how you teach a child to read, and we have really just tried to narrow and have a laser focus on phonics, using the developmentally appropriate text so that kids have access to material, and training everyone uniformly on how you teach a child to read. And those numbers are just dramatic. Now, they taper off as you get from first to second to third to fourth, but naturally there's less room to grow if you're making those improvements early.
That's exactly where I was going with that. Is, when you look at the number of third graders that still struggle with reading, if that number continually drops because you're doing the work at kindergarten, it sets us up for greater success and eventually to move the goal line.
Well, and two, what's worth mentioning, the third graders this year, so this year's third graders across the state will be the first third graders that are impacted by the promotion and or retention policy, where we have in place that if a student across the state, as they're about to exit third grade, if they're not able to show some level of minimum proficiency in reading, then they can't exit to the fourth grade. So we're basically eliminating the idea of social promotion and just passing kids along who aren't ready, and that will hit this year for third graders. And so I've been very clear to schools that they need to do all they can to communicate with parents of third graders across the span of the year, so that parents will know the status of their child, so they can provide additional maybe support at home if needed, and then the school can know additional things that they might need to do, because it doesn't need to be a surprise for any family if their child needs to be retained at the end of third grade because they're just not ready for fourth grade.
No, absolutely. It's having the standard, living up to the standard across the board. We're talking with
and we have. I just want to say we have passed along children year after year into fourth grade, into middle school, into high school that weren't ready.
Right.
And so it's no surprise that some of the results aren't where they need to be when we've allowed children to exit elementary schools without the basic skills needed to be successful in intermediate, middle, or high school.
Well, and this is a bigger conversation to have, Dr. Brumley, but we talk about it on every aspect, whether we're talking about crime, economic development, whatever the case might be. there are generational problems that we're currently living with, that when I see numbers like this, I see the inklings of getting ourselves out of future problems or continuing that cycle in the future. To say it all starts with education. If you're talking about opportunities for somebody, they have to be equipped to take advantage of those opportunities, and that literally starts with reading.
Yeah, and that's where we are, and that's where we focus, and I think it's a good place.
We got Dr. Cade Brumley with us. We're going to pivot just a little bit here. Let's move from the students to teachers. What are we looking at when it comes to retention right now? How are things on that front?
Yeah, so we also just put out our annual teacher exit interviews and teacher surveys and teacher data, and it's showing that we had a 2% decrease in the number of teachers leaving the profession, which means, compared to the previous year, we had a 2% to the good, less teachers leaving the profession. We also, surprisingly, for the first time since 2012, I think, are across the state, the colleges that are preparing future teachers saw an increase in the number of students that they have graduated, a pretty significant number. So, I think on both ends you see more individuals going into the profession and being trained for the profession, which is amazing. But also you see that because of our work around Let Teachers Teach and trying to get rid of some of the paperwork and bureaucracy, me calling for local superintendents and system leaders and principals to crack down on poor behavior in classrooms, and some of those other factors that we've tried to use to elevate the profession are prompting less teachers to leave. Now, that's not to say that we still don't have vacancies. We still have about 1,000 vacancies roughly across the state that need to be filled, but it is progress.
Golly, that's still such a big number, though. It's, man. Hey, no, you're right. I don't want to step on the progress.
It was over 2,500 just 3 years ago. Think about that. 3 years ago, we had in the state of Louisiana over 2,500 classrooms that were not staffed with a teacher, and that was just incredible to me. And so we've been able to chip away at that through policy and actions and legislative support, Bessie support. Good work happening in the field. And so, we've been able to each year kind of reduce that number, and now we're hovering right around 1,000. And we would like to get under 1,000, but it's just going to take these continuous actions of trying to make the profession more sustainable for teachers.
Well, empowerment goes a long way on that front, to be sure. We got Dr. Cade Brumley with us, our state's superintendent of education. All right, I got to go back to yesterday, Dr. Brumley. You had asked that all schools and school systems observe a moment of silence for the victims of the New Orleans terrorist attack. This is an important ask on a number of fronts, because you're talking K through 12 here. And learning about tragedy, learning about death as a part of life, it hits different on different levels. Your intent on this, or how did you see the execution of this happening? Was there to be more than just a moment of silence and possibly some interaction between teachers and students as well?
Yeah, well, the Governor Landry and I had a conversation late last week, and we talked about some of the approaches that he was going to take to kind of institute and honor and remember the victims and the families. Because this was, let's make no mistake, this was a terrorist attack in the state of Louisiana, a heinous terrorist attack, and he just felt the need to honor the victims. And so we talked, and he communicated to me that he was going to ask all public facilities to have flags at half-mast. And so we talked about that. Then we talked about, a moment of silence. And so I just went on whenever I got his request for the flags, and I wanted to notify schools about that to make sure that they were aware. We just wanted to go ahead and take that a step further and add that everyone should consider a moment of silence. And so from what I've heard, I feel pretty confident that schools across the state, adhered to that. And so I just think it was a good symbol across the state to show that we are remembering the victims and are thinking about the families that are mourning right now, and just kind of followed the governor's lead and took it a step further.
It's always interesting when faced with history happening in real time. history that the kids will learn about one day, future kids will learn about one day in class. I know I'm dating myself right here, but I watched the Challenger explode while in class. Like I'm always going to associate tragedy in real time with that occurrence in my own childhood, and to see it play out. I believe it's important to not ignore it and to give it respect.
Yeah, and I recall that, and if you talk to maybe our parents, they would tell you about the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, and so we experienced Challenger. I know where I was on September 11th when that happened. I mean, we have to process these things, but I think it's important to call them out. I think it's important to remember, but also, we have resolve as a country, and we have to move forward, and we have to fight for what's right. We can't tolerate terrorism. We're not going to. And so I've been pleased to see the fight back on those fronts as well.
You talk about resolve as a country. That kind of pivots us over. I did want to hit one more topic before we get you out of here, and that is we're less than 2 weeks away from a new administration in Washington, D.C. What's the Trump administration? What does the Trump second term mean locally for our students in education?
Yeah, I mean, I have some pretty good awareness on this issue. So I think it's going to be a lot of work to try to send education back to the states as much as possible, which is good. Education needs to be a local enterprise, and so they are deliberately thinking through ways in which the functions of the educational system where the federal government has been too involved can be reduced, and those decisions can be returned to the sovereignty of the states, which I think is good. Now, what that looks like, I think state leaders are going to have an opportunity to shape many of those decisions, which is important. But I think overall, Brian, I would say just more flexibility and state control as much as they can possibly do, as opposed to federal bureaucrats making decisions about what's going to happen in the state of Louisiana.
He is our state superintendent of education, Dr. Cade Brumley. We get to visit about once a month, and we always appreciate the time. Dr. Brumley, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brian. Have a good week.
You do the same. It is 7:50 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Tell you what, we need a break here, and we'll meet up with our traffic report coming up in just a little bit. So as we hit 7:51, we'll hit our break. Come back. Let's talk about Mardi Gras security. You heard the story in our news at the bottom of the hour. We will elaborate on that in just a little bit, as things will be stepped up for the carnival season that is already underway. Quick break, coming back next. Nailed it. All right, I'm going to my heater. Both of those interviews are going to be featured, by the way. I'll get you headlines before the show's over. 7:55, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Talk 107.3 FM presents a weekly conversation with St. George Mayor Dustin Yates, Monday afternoons at 5 p.m. It's called Mondays with the Mayor. I host it. Dustin comes in. We answer your questions. We're trying to do this every Monday. However, I can tell you we have a few scheduling conflicts. We had a scheduling conflict yesterday. Coming up next Monday, we're going to have a scheduling conflict with LSU women's basketball. So picking up not next Monday, but the Monday after that, Mondays with the Mayor will continue right here on Talk 107.3 FM. You heard the story in our news at the bottom of the hour about security for Mardi Gras, and I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit if we could. I do need to find my notes first. My goodness. You know what? I don't know that we're going to be able to do this. Tell you what, give me one quick second to regroup here. My apologies, y'all. I'm all over the place this morning. It's been a busy hour. Hey, while I have a minute, I do need to tell you about the folks over at Vex European. Check them out online at vexeuropean.com, V-E-X, with a V like Vinny. Vexeuropean.com. If you drive a European vehicle, you've made an investment into a level of performance, a level of, well, the car you bought, you know what you want out of it, right? And you know you want not just performance, but longevity. How do you get the most out of that investment into that vehicle? VexEuropean.com. My car is now 17 years old. And when I hit the gas pedal, she still has some giddy up. A lot of giddy up. That's because I take my car to Vex. There's on top of it. Go to VexEuropean.com, hit the little drop-down menu where it says vehicles. It'll tell you which vehicles they service. While you're at it, hit the little drop-down menu where it talks about specials. You might be able to save yourself a couple of bucks along the way. Be paired with a technician that knows your vehicle, a master-level technician in your make of vehicle. And oh, by the way, Vex European celebrating 10 years in business this year. Check them out at VexEuropean.com. So, security for Mardi Gras in New Orleans is going to be at the same level of the Super Bowl. President Biden has approved a request from LaToya Cantrell to designate Mardi Gras a Tier 1 event by the Department of Homeland Security. Arthur Hardy, the founder of the Mardi Gras Guide magazine, says this is fantastic news.
The fact that we'll have even extra security for what I think already would have been maybe the safest Mardi Gras ever because of the incident in Bourbon Street and all the preparations for the Super Bowl, I think it's maybe the safest carnival ever.
Hardy says all 33 parades during carnival season will be dedicated to those who lost their lives in the terror attack on Bourbon Street on New Year's Day.
It's a delicate balance here. We choose to celebrate rather than surrender to the bad guys, but a tragedy occurred, and it will not go unacknowledged.
No, absolutely not. That's kind of the duality of – it's always been the duality of New Orleans. I mean, you have, after a funeral, a second line, right? Hardy says the beefed-up security is not just going to be about what people will see, not just the police presence, but – not just the law enforcement and tactical gear, but you've got the things that people won't see as well.
There's so many behind-the-scenes things going on that you're not supposed to see. We won't know they're there, but hopefully if there are any bad guys out there, they'll find out.
number of questions that pop up to this is some of the same questions we've been asking before. Okay, let's start with this. When it comes to the Super Bowl, you've got to make sure the dome's on lockdown, right? For to the same extent, take it up Poitras all the way to the casino, take it up Canal, take it throughout the French Quarter. That is a chunk of the city that has to be really, really well protected. Mardi Gras, you got to back things all the way up to, all the way up St. Charles, all the way up parade start over about Delgado. Like, you're talking about a huge swath of the city that's all going to need to be protected. Whew. There's going to be a lot of logistics to work through. ABC News coming your way. Hour 3 is next. 806 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along, 32 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge, getting you ready for a busy third hour. Although, man, it'll be hard to keep up with last hour, to be sure. Thanks again to Lori Melancon from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber for hopping on board with more energy than you really created 7 o'clock in the morning. That was fantastic. Also, Dr. Cade Brumley with just nothing but good news coming out of Louisiana's K-3 students improved their reading proficiency by 2.3 percentage points on a literacy screener given at the beginning of the school year. And we're getting more and more base knowledge of where they were at before because, like Dr. Brumley said, we didn't have these screenings. They weren't uniform not that long ago. My biggest thing, though, was the kindergarten class growing by 20.4 points from kindergarten to first grade. It's just the stronger we can be on that front, the less it's going to be needed to make up ground on the back end. All right, this hour, Louisiana Marathon is coming up, not this weekend, but next. Mike Wattigny from the Marathon going to join us to talk about what we can expect. It's always a big deal. It's always a big deal in Louisiana to see people come in from most of the states around the country and a number of countries around the world. Baton Rouge does its best to put its best foot forward for that weekend. We'll talk with Mike at 8:15. 8:35, we're going to talk Saints football a little bit. Ross Jackson from LouisianaSports.net going to join us to talk about the Saints coaching search. I believe there are 5 teams right now in the NFL that are looking for a new head coach, and New Orleans is definitely not the most attractive destination. But where do we stand? We'll talk with Ross Jackson at 8:35. Right now, it's time for This Day in History. All right, John.
All right. Starting off 1927, the Harlem Globetrotters play their first game in Illinois.
You ever seen them in person?
Not in person.
Still a really great show.
Not an actual game.
I've been down to the Raising Cane's River Center a couple times to catch the Globetrotters live. It's a fantastic show.
Yeah, I remember a few times throughout my grade school years. Different members of the Globetrotters would come in and do like presentations and things like that. Really cool stuff.
All right.
1929, Tarzan, one of the first adventure comic strips, first appears.
Really
fascinating there. Check this out. 1948, Thomas Manteel, a pilot for the Kentucky Air National Guard, crashes while pursuing a supposed UFO.
What?
Yeah.
No.
1948. That happened. Hey, that same year, U.S. President Harry Truman raises taxes for the Marshall Plan to assist in rebuilding Europe after World War II.
Okay.
A few years later, President Truman announces American development of the hydrogen bomb. This is in 1953.
Wait, say that again?
1953, U.S. President Harry Truman announces American development of the hydrogen bomb.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
1975, music news here. Led Zeppelin fans riot before a Boston concert, causing $30,000 in damage. Are these Limp Bizkit fans or Led Zeppelin fans? What is going on here?
I'm telling you. Unruly.
1980, U.S. President Jimmy Carter authorizes legislation to bail out the Chrysler Corporation with a $1.5 billion loan.
Okay. $1.5 billion, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal at all. 1998, former White House intern Monica Lewinsky signs affidavit denying she had an affair with President Bill Clinton.
All right.
The following year, President Bill Clinton's impeachment trial begins in the U.S. Senate after the House voted to impeach him for lying about his affair with Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah.
Hey, check this out. We were talking about this earlier this morning. 2021 Facebook chief executive Mark Zuckerberg blocks President Donald Trump from Facebook and Instagram till July 20th.
See?
Following suspension.
See? Yep.
Oh,
claim to be a supporter all he wants.
Right. We always go back. History
never
lies, man.
The internet is written in ink.
Yes, that same year, of course, U.S. Congress completes the ceremonial certification of Joe Biden's presidential victory late in the night after an earlier unprecedented breach of the Capitol by Trump supporters, of course.
Yeah.
So that happened.
Yep.
History.
Yep. You got birthdays?
Yes, starting with Nicolas Cage here.
Yes.
Actor.
Gotta love that.
Yeah.
Love me some Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yeah.
If you give me National Treasure, I'm just sitting there. I don't care, one or two. By the way, they need to get to work on National Treasure 3.
I will say this, though. The National Treasure TV series filmed mostly in Baton Rouge.
Yep.
Really cool stuff.
Yep.
Actor also Jeremy Renner, birthday today.
Okay.
I know I had one more.
I got a bunch more, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kenny Loggins as well today.
Kenny Loggins was born today. Katie Couric, born today.
Yep.
Former president, the 13th president of the United States, Millard Fillmore. It's his birthday.
Yeah, you might appreciate this one. Oh, man, where did it go? I lost it. Oh, man, David Caruso.
Oh, Horatio Kane himself?
NYPD Blue. And
No.
CSI
Oh, yeah,
Miami.
yeah. He was on NYPD Blue. But everybody knows him from CSI Miami.
Miami.
Yeah. So, man. He was in a movie with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm trying to, and Samuel L. Jackson, and I'm breaking on the name of the movie. Kiss of Death.
Kiss of Death.
Kiss of
Okay.
Death.
Wow.
Yeah.
Throwback, huh?
Yeah, big time. Big time.
Throwback.
Any other birthdays?
That's all I really
Okay,
have.
I
for
got
today.
a couple from the world of sports.
Yeah, let's roll.
We got former LSU Tiger Todd Kenshin, born on this day in 1969. Former Saints wide receiver Traquan Smith in 1996. And Ravens quarterback, and should be everybody's pick for MVP in the NFL this year, Lamar Jackson. It's his birthday, too.
All right. Moving on to deaths here. 1943, Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
Today. Anybody else worth noting?
Yep.
On this day.
Bronco Nagurski, former
Okay.
football player, named the Nagurski Award is named after him, of course. He died on this day in 1990. You had, I got a couple more here. Give me one quick second to scroll back up again because I had scrolled all the way down on birthdays.
Yep.
Oh, you had Nikola Tesla already. Emperor of Japan, Hirohito, died on this day in 1989.
All right.
Yep.
National days here, of course, I mentioned earlier, National Globetrotter, so it's National Globetrotters Day. What about I'm not going to take it anymore day? What is that?
What? It's
Being
January 7th.
empowered
You can
to
take
stand
it.
up for themselves.
Nah, you can take it. It's only the 7th.
And listen to this. So I know we make jokes about national days. This is no joke. I'm not even trying to be funny. It's literally the day is what's listed here. National Pass Gas Day.
No.
I can't even make it up. Right.
No.
I'm just saying that every day. National Tempura Day. Shrimp tempura?
How about Bobblehead Day?
Orthodox Christmas.
National Bobblehead Day?
It is Bobblehead Day.
I know. I wasn't making that up.
Right. See, but one would think we're just here making up names. No,
No.
we're not.
All right. It's 8:14 to Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Louisiana Marathon's a little more than a week away. We'll talk about it next. Ooh.
Studio. Hi, yes, sir. Look, we'll have you on here. Give us about another minute or two. All right. Thank you, sir. That is Mike.
That heater makes me tired. I don't know what it is about the heater. I don't know if it's
Getting
the white
comfortable.
noise that comes out of
Yeah.
it or just the way the heat emanates. Something about that heater makes me super duper tired.
Might be a little bit of both. The sound,
Yeah.
Everything about it.
Oh. Not good. Hey, can you get cuts 7, 8, and 9 ready?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is going to go the full segment. I'd like it to, but just in case.
All right, I got it.
Oh. .817 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We're talking Louisiana Marathon in exactly 1 minute. I do need to remind you about the folks over at P.F. Chang's. Do you have your lunch plans set for today? If not, might I recommend going Chinese. Hitting up P.F. Chang's. Not just the traditional Chinese dishes, but a lot of Asian-inspired dishes as well. We had P.F. Chang's in for Foodie Friday last Friday. It was so good. Had the chicken lettuce wraps. Had spring rolls. Oh, spring rolls. So surprising along the way. So you get all the cabbage and the carrots and everything that comes in a spring roll, right? And then they get these gramini mushrooms in there as well. It just gives this smooth, I'm trying to describe the flavor after the fact. Number one, they brought all the stuff that was already pre-prepared, and the quality didn't drop off at all. Like normally, if you've got like crunchy fried shrimp and you put them in a to-go container, they're going to lose the crunchy right away. No, not the case. Whether you're talking about the crunchy honey shrimp was what we had the other day. I've yet to find something on P.F. Chang's menu that I don't absolutely love. If you don't have your lunch plan set for today, swing by. They're off Corporate Boulevard in Town Center. Look for the giant golden horse. It's P.F. Chang's. All right, coming up a little more than a week from now, or not this weekend, but the following weekend, will be the Louisiana Marathon. Joining us now to talk about it is Mike Wattigny. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Doing very well. So what year are we now for the marathon?
This is year number 14.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Can't believe that. Seems like a blink of an eye ago that we started this race, and here we are, staring down 15 years coming up next year.
Before we get into this year's race, before we get into this year's marathon, can we talk a little bit about the growth? Because everything
Certainly.
about this thing has been put together in a way that is going to make it sustainable forever, to where one day we could, somebody be talking about the 100th Louisiana Marathon. The way this thing was built out, number one, it was put on the schedule where only Louisiana can host it, so you're going to get runners from everywhere. But number two, the way y'all laid it out throughout the city has been palatable for a runner. So talk to me a little bit about how it was planned and how it's grown.
So yeah, the Louisiana Marathon was really started with two goals. One, we wanted to showcase the capital city and involve a lot of the various neighborhoods and the beautiful, landscape, beautiful architecture, and, showcase what the city has to attract folks from around the country and really around the world here to Baton Rouge. And the second thing was we wanted to provide a platform for a lot of Southeast United States to get healthier. Louisiana unfortunately leads the categories in the United States in a lot of things, but health and health metrics, quality of life type of things are not up at the top of the list, and we wanted to change that. And so over the last 14 years, we've provided a platform for people to get set a goal and get healthy, whether that's starting with the Window World 5K or moving up to the quarter marathon or, on to Sunday with the half of the full marathon. And then from the looking at trying to draw in people over the 3-day weekend of Martin Luther King Day weekend, it provides opportunity for people to travel in, and it has proven year over year that while we usually have some pretty cold temps like we do today here in Louisiana, it's nothing like in a lot of other places of the world where they're buried under snow. And so it gives people an opportunity to come run and enjoy in what they consider a little bit warmer climates, and makes for a great destination to put into early January.
We're talking with Mike Wattigny about the Louisiana Marathon coming up, not this weekend, but next. And yes, there's still availability to sign up if you have not done so yet. Obviously, not enough time to train for a full marathon, but if you want to get in on some of these smaller races, you can certainly do so over at thelouisianamarathon.com. Mike, let's walk through the events of the weekend as they're going to get here. You mentioned some of the shorter races are going to be on Saturday, and then the two biggies on Sunday. Break that down for me. What does that mean for people who come into town? Obviously, you're going to get more travelers for the big race than the little ones, but the locals to participate is a huge deal when it comes to this race.
Certainly, yeah. We've got 3 days worth of activities for both locals and for our out-of-town visitors. We'll start it off Friday midday with the Explore Louisiana Marathon Expo at the River Center. And we've got a full slate of vendors. I believe the expo is sold out to vendors. And so we've got not only the packet pickup experience, but we'll have two different musicians playing on Friday, one kind of early in the day and then another one from 4 to 6. So we've got some live music at the expo, give people an opportunity to get a little of that Louisiana flair, both in the hospitality as well as listening, in the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Saturday, we kick off the morning with the Window World 5K and quarter marathon at 8 a.m., and that takes place right from downtown where the start and finish line is on 4th Street, right in the shadow of the state capitol. We get that one wrapped up, and then at right after 10, we'll do the Louisiana Blue Kids Marathon, which has been a great platform for kids of all ages to get into running. And in fact, we've seen now, having the race going on for 14 years, a lot of kids who started out as little, youngsters who've now moved on to the 5K and the quarter, and some of them that, maybe even moving into college and are doing the half marathon or even the full marathon. And then 2 o'clock, we've got probably the cutest event of the weekend at the expo. It's the Birth Center of Baton Rouge Diaper Dash. So toddlers, little babies, will crawl across the quote-unquote race course, start to finish. And, definitely a sight to behold. Parents at one end of that, that mat, with the binkies and cheering on their kids and trying to get them to crawl. And it's always entertaining. And so happy to have that back for the second year. Also adds a lot more excitement to the expo. And then on Sunday morning, the big event, we'll have the Louisiana Half Marathon, Full Marathon kicking off at 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And the half marathon go together as they leave downtown, head down Park around the LSU campus and through the Garden District. And then the half splits off and comes back. And the full marathon makes its way out towards Tara. And over the last few years, particularly since the pandemic, we've seen a lot of the neighborhoods really start to embrace this event. They'll set up sort of unofficial aid stations, have tailgate parties out in their front yard.
Yep.
And so while our runners can expect the water and the Powerade and the energy supplements throughout the course, they're going to get a lot more nutrition, if you will, along the way through so many of these neighborhoods that have embraced it and started to do tailgate parties in their front yard.
All right, so I want to talk about that because this is something I've seen. It's something I've partaken in, especially in Tara off of Chevelle. When it comes to the folks that are getting out and throwing the tailgate parties and whatnot, when you go to other places around the country and go to other marathons around the country, do the neighborhoods participate like we do?
I think if you get to some of the really big ones, the World Marathon majors, you'll see, hundreds of thousands of spectators along the course. In fact, our company, Fresh Junkie Racing, has been involved in the New York City Marathon for the last couple of years. And this year we were out there. I was out in in Brooklyn. And you've got, thousands of people lining the streets and cheering them on. But difference there is that, they're just out there cheering, whereas in Baton Rouge, they're in their own front yard. So right. I venture to say it's somewhat of a unique experience to to be able to just have a driveway party for the runners that are passing. I'm sure it happens somewhere else around the country or around the world, but I certainly enjoy seeing and hearing the stories of runners that experience it along out there in the tower. And as you've said, you've seen that experience.
We're talking with Mike Wattigny from the Louisiana Marathon, which is coming up next weekend, 18th and 19th. We haven't even gotten to the Visit Baton Rouge Finish Fest yet.
Yeah, we have got an incredible Grammy-winning lineup. We've doubled down on the Visit Baton Rouge Finish Fest, and got some incredible talent that is lined up for it. Highlighted by Lost Bayou and Michael Foster Project. But as I said, multiple Grammy winners. We've got 3 different musical acts over the course of the morning, starting at 8:30 and running all the way till 2 p.m. So between the Abita Beer, the Gumbo, the Jambalaya, and all of the other, vendors and cheering sections that are going to be out there, they're going to be treated. The runners going to be treated to Grammy-winning talent on the stage, which is, that I would say puts our race at a very different level than almost every other marathon out there in the United States.
Yeah, the Finish Fest is awesome. It's irreplaceable because you have all the vibe of all the people that just got done running and everybody that came out to support them, and like you said, all the great local outlets as well. Whether you talk about the food, the drink, or the bands. Did I see Flow Tribe's gonna be out there again?
No, Flow Tribe was last year.
Oh, nuts!
So this year
We've
got Michael Foster is the last band, Lost Bayou, and it's a truly talented lineup that we've got there. The race was started and it was called the Running Festival with Lanyap, and that's part of the Lanyap is the amazing talent that we've got on the stage on Saturday at the Finish Festival, on Sunday at the Visit Baton Rouge Finish Festival, and then even at the Expo. So if you're a fan of music, the Louisiana Marathon is the place to be.
That can't go wrong with the Michael Foster Project, to be sure. And the rest of the lineup, fantastic as well. TheLouisianaMarathon.com is the website if you want to get all the information, all the event info, all the race info, everything that they've got going on throughout the weekend. It is a fantastic weekend. Last thing before we get you out of here, Mike, and that is if the initial intent was to get people off their butts, to get them a little bit healthier, a little more physically fit, how do we carry on beyond the marathon throughout the year?
Fresh Junkie Racing puts on a calendar of events that spans pretty much every one of the, if you will, runnable months. We've got events that start off in September and then run all the way through now with some changes with the college football playoff. The Tiger 10K is May 4th. So now we've stretched the calendar into May. And then during those warmer summer months, we do some pop-ups, some group run support, some run club stuff. So people have an opportunity year-round to get involved, to go for a walk, go for a run, and our entire calendar is available on FreshJunkieRacing.com. FreshJunkieRacing.com to stay with it all year round. He is Mike Wattigny. I appreciate a couple minutes this morning, man. Thank you so much for hopping on board. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Yep, we'll see you out there. It is 8:30 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We're going to talk New Orleans Saints coaching search next. Right now, let's get you ABC News, then our local news, traffic, and weather right here on Talk 107.3. Headline for Dr. Brumley. Addressing tragedy in the classroom. Or no, acknowledging tragedy within the classroom. Oh my God, I haven't talked bird flu yet at all, have I? It's not every day I get a press release from the CDC that involves our backyard. Woo woo. Woo woo.
And for Lori?
Lori, by the way. It's not the traditional Lori spelling. Just I don't know if I had it written down right.
Yeah.
Okay. Setting Baton Rouge up for economic success. Oh, this is going to be for tomorrow's outside in. Whoop, what did I do? Shoot. I just closed out Facebook. Dang it. There we go.
Dang it, Brian. Call Mr. Jackson. Or is
Okay.
it too early?
Nah, give him a minute.
Let me just call him during weather.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cold.
Yeah.
It's making me sleepy.
Cold makes you sleepy?
Yeah.
No, the opposite.
That's no. Cold makes me sleepy because I want to bundle up.
David Letterman,
You what?
when I went and saw David Letterman,
Yeah.
he kept the Ed Sullivan Theater at 60 degrees.
Yeah. It was like that when I was there. When did you go see him? 90s? Oh. Okay. All right, here's what we got cooking for today. Cooking's probably the wrong term because it's only going to get up to 49. We're getting up to 49 today, then back down to 29 tonight. So we will freeze once again. Tomorrow we'll get up to 50 degrees, then back down to 30. So overnight temperatures will touch below freezing on both nights into the morning. If you've got the exposed pipes, you'll want to run that trickle down the bathtub for sure. On Thursday, we top out at 48 and only get down to 40 degrees. Friday, we've got a 95% chance of rain in the forecast with a high of 46. Getting up to 49 on Saturday, 60 on Sunday, 60 on Monday as well. Right now, we are mostly cloudy and still looking at 32 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. .838 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. If you go to LouisianaSports.net right now, right there on the homepage, you're going to find the Saints head coach interview tracker. I was going to dial in on this a little bit. I mean, there's a handful of jobs open in the NFL right now. How does the Saints job look compared to others? Who's being seriously considered? Who's a viable option? Joining us now to talk about this from LouisianaSports.net, we've got our own Ross Jackson. Ross, how are you, man?
Hey, buddy, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on.
No, of course. Glad to have you on. Glad to be addressing the conversation because there's so many questions and not many answers just yet. So let's start off with this. Who are the top prospects and who's actually viable?
Yeah, I think the top prospects are guys that you're looking at like Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator. From the Detroit Lions is a big one, I think, as well. Guys like Mike Vrabel are going to be names to watch. And then I would certainly expect, too, you look at this list that they have so far, guys like Anthony Weaver are probably names that a lot of people don't or haven't thought about when it comes to this head coaching search, but certainly somebody that ends up providing a pretty good amount of experience, even as a younger guy. I mean, he's one of those top candidates and stuff like that. And everything. And so I think that that's one of those guys that you're looking at that could potentially be a little bit of that kind of diversion from the status quo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that I think a lot of fans are definitely going to be looking for. And so a lot of those names are going to be guys that are going to represent that and everything. So I would highlight those guys. And I think that Darren Rizzi, even on the inside and stuff like that. But even a guy like Darren Rizzi is somebody that I think would be able to, still be on that list as a guy that's highly considered.
Did he do enough to earn that possibility? I mean, yes, he's going to get an interview just for holding down the post, but if we're being realistic, would you put him in that category of, say, top three?
Top three is a little tough. I think it depends on how the other guys end up interviewing over the course of time, over the course of this thing. But I think the big thing that you're going to be watching for is, guys like Aaron Glenn and Mike Vrabel, who are going to be at the very top of the conversation. Are those guys going to be ones that end up, taking jobs elsewhere? Or Aaron Glenn is going to be somebody that's really, really going to be tempted by the New York Jets job. That's a team that he, much like the Saints, that he played for, but that he was also drafted by in the first round, 12th overall, back during his, back as he was entering the league and everything. And so I think that if he ends up going there, let's say Mike Vrabel goes to the New England Patriots, then I think, a guy like Darren Rizzi makes sense to be somebody that you could bring in to kind of help to, continue to rebuild the culture, make some of the changes that he's already started to make. He would be kind of going back to the status quo to a lot of people, but if he's willing to make changes to that status quo, then I think that he at least helps you further things from where they have been over the course of the past few years. So I'd still put him up there, depending upon how some of the younger, non-previous head coaches are interviewing during that time.
Talk with Ross Jackson about the New Orleans Saints head coaching search that's going on right now. Ross, I got to ask you about the other jobs that are available. You mentioned Aaron Glenn in New York. You mentioned Mike Vrabel in New England. If you had to rank the jobs from most desirable to least desirable, where is New Orleans falling right now as far as the jobs that are open?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think New Orleans falls either fourth or fifth of the five that are open, right? It's kind of between them and the Jacksonville Jaguars who ends up on the bottom. But I think that the big thing is what you're looking for is what do you value most?
Do you value having the young quarterback with several years of starting experience that already looks like they can be your future? If that's what you value most, then all of a sudden that puts the Jaguars above the New Orleans Saints. But then I dare say that if you value stability, organizational stability, ownership stability, stuff like that, like if what's more important to you is your relationship with the front office as the head coach, then I think the New Orleans Saints rank above the Jacksonville Jaguars in that situation. The big thing that's going to be a deterrent for New Orleans is going to be the $63 million cap overage going into next year. That's hard to shake when it comes to conversations like this. But what you're getting effectively, if you're a head coach taking this job, is essentially a free year, right? Maybe two,
right,
where you're not going to be expected to come in and immediately find success with this team because they're not going to be able to build success through their roster and through their personnel, or they might struggle to do it as quickly as another team might. And so you're going to end up coming in a situation where you're probably not going to have to pick your quarterback to start. You're probably not going to have the salary cap money to go out there and do too terrible much. And so really you take a job in 2025, but your evaluation begins in 2026 as long as you don't royally screw it up during your first year. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think that it just kind of depends upon what it is that you value more. But I would say that that teams like the Jets, Patriots, and the Bears on name alone in terms of organizational standing within the NFL, as well as young quarterback talent, I think that those teams have the upper hand right now.
We're talking with Ross Jackson about the Saints head coaching search. I got to ask about the Jets because when was the last time the Jets were a winner, like on a consistent level? I don't know what makes them that much more attractive as a franchise.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I'm pretty similar in terms of my look at the New York Jets as well. I mean, the recent ineptitudes of that team should be something that puts, kind of a big warning label on that franchise, especially while certain people are still making decisions there. But it seems that no matter what, sometimes like the Giants will always be held up as the Giants. The Patriots will always be held up as the Patriots, and the Jets will always be held up as the Jets. And so I think that there's something to being able to, have the sentimental side of it is still a piece that matters. And certainly that would be a piece that would matter even more for Aaron Glenn, who was drafted by that team as he was coming into the NFL. I believe it was in '96. And so I think that that's really the thing that you would be looking at is what's the connective tissue that's there. But if the connective tissue ends up being stronger in New York, then the sentimentality sort of plays into it, and that could end up kind of upsetting a little bit of that ranking when it comes between them and the Saints. But I would agree with you that certainly their recent output, and when I'm talking recent, I'm going back, right? I mean that's been a long history of failure over with that New York Jets franchise. And so, I don't know that I think the Saints are being held less appealing than they actually are. I think the Jets are being held more appealing than they actually are.
Well, because the Saints have this short-term quagmire of the salary cap and Derek Carr, and they have more short-term problems. But long-term, when you look at ownership and management, I would bump them up just a little. Not to mention the love of the fan base as well.
Yeah.
Like you go to New York, you're going to get scrutiny. You go to New Orleans, you're going to get love.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a really good way to look at it is the difference between short-term and long-term. And look, I got to tell you, these coaches are looking at the long-term. They're not looking at the short-term. They're not just looking at, let me say it this way. They're not just looking at the short-term. They are looking at the long-term. They're looking, what can I do with this team in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? What can I do with this franchise? Not just what am I going to do tomorrow?
Right.
That's a really short-sighted way to look at it as a head coach. And so many head coaches are not going to see it that way. And instead, they're going to be looking at what are the building blocks, what's the foundation, and what do I have to work with long-term? And one of the biggest questions any head coach is going to get, because let's just face it, anytime you're hiring a new head coach, you're either hiring a first-time head coach or you're hiring a head coach that couldn't get it done somewhere else. And so with that being the case, the biggest thing they're going to be looking for is patience. And the New Orleans Saints have proven time and time again that they know how to be patient when it comes to their coaching, to their team, and to their success.
Sometimes a little too much. We got
maybe to a fault.
Got a couple more minutes. Got to ask you about Joe Brady. Where's he in the mix?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that he's another one of those guys that's got some of that connective tissue, of course, between the New Orleans Saints and, of course, LSU, right? He's got connective tissue all around Louisiana.
Yep.
But I got to be honest. I think with Joe Brady, it's really I think you're interested in Joe Brady if you're the New Orleans Saints because of what Joe Brady has done and the growth potential that he's shown. I mean, the difference between him in Carolina and him in Buffalo is night and day. And his time with New Orleans was nothing more than really a cup of coffee. It was a couple of years as an offensive assistant. He wasn't here in New Orleans holding some big role or anything like that. So I think that, like, if you see, with you seeing his name, and one of the first names, by the way, that we saw on the list in terms of an actual formal request, at least the first whose news broke, I think that shows you that this New Orleans Saints team is not just interested in Joe Brady because they know Joe Brady, but they're interested in Joe Brady because of what Joe Brady has shown over the course of his time.
Okay, what has Mickey Loomis said? What's on the record right now that kind of opens up some tea leaves for you to read?
Yeah, a little tough. We haven't gotten to speak to him yet this week. I think we'll get a little bit more of that once we get our opportunity to speak to him in his typical annual, like, season-ending presser. But I think if you look back at some of the comments that he's made, I think some of the things that you're looking for in terms of leadership with this team is going to be somebody that's going to hold this team accountable and that's going to want to be accountable as well. Like, accountability has been a conversation here in New Orleans for the past few seasons, right? Yeah. We've seen our fair share of pass the buck here, pass the buck there. But really, once Darren Rizzi kind of stepped in, you saw a lot more like, hey, this is on me, this is on us, that kind of stuff. And not just the lip service, hey, it starts with me kind of stuff. It was like genuine accountability. And so I think that that's something you're going to want to see and that the New Orleans Saints will want from their next head coach. And I wouldn't be surprised, too, if they want a more commanding head coach than they've had in the past, too. Somebody that demands a lot more out of the players, that demands a lot more out of the rest of the organization as well. So I imagine there's that. And then I would end with a focus on kind of cooperation, right? And cooperation is not the right word. I'm really collaboration. That's what I'm looking for. A focus on collaboration in terms of don't just come in as a head coach that's looking to call plays. Come in as a head coach that's looking to build a franchise and looking to build success from every angle, not just from what you do on the football field, but also what you do at the practice facility and what you do with your roster.
30 seconds left with Ross Jackson talking about the Saints coaching search. Timeline it for us. Are we going to have to wait for the more attractive jobs to get filled first?
I don't know if you're necessarily waiting for the most attractive jobs to get filled first. I think that the thing that you're really waiting on is just the playoffs, right? A lot of the most and this should be no shocker, a lot of the most desirable candidates are currently coaching in the playoffs. Those people cannot do any in-person interviews until their team is both eliminated from the playoffs and the team is beyond the January 19th. So I think that that's going to be the big thing because you're off of a virtual interview, wait for you guys. And so I think you're still looking at a timeline of a couple of weeks here.
He is Ross Jackson. Greatly appreciate the time, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Oh, man, appreciate you. Thanks for having me on. Take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yep, 8:50. Here's your money now. He was good. He was very good. Cell phone betrayed him in the final moments, but other than that. Yeah, I don't even know if I want Joe Brady yet. I think I do, but I don't know. I'm torn. Yeah, I don't really want a first-time head coach. Man, Hanny brought up a name yesterday, Matt Nagy, former Bears coach. Completely forgot. He went 12-4 with Mitchell Trubisky as his quarterback. I mean, things tapered off from there because the Bears just started to be dismantled, but He'd be worth a look. Mike Vrabel's not going to be a thing. Vrabel's going to New England. Aaron Glenn to New York makes total sense too. I would like to see the offensive coordinator from Minnesota. I don't even know his name. I would like to see him get a look. I know the head coach kind of runs that offense. I mean, it being that offensive coordinator is like being Sean Payton's offensive coordinator. But I would like to see his name out there because you had Kirk Cousins become all-world, and then you bring in Sam Darnold, and he becomes all-world. So it's like, it's not the quarterback, it's the coach. You want to get the most out of Derek Carr, bring in the guy that made Kirk friggin' Cousins, and then Cousins goes over to Atlanta and falls into whatever doldrums he ended up being replaced by Michael Penix. Yes, I finally did. Oh, I don't think I've done that on the show. His last name's Penix, but it's spelled Penix. Penix. And I would get in trouble with all the sports guys because they would always correct me.
And anyone south of the I-10 would pronounce it that way.
Penix?
Penix.
Yep. That's...
What?
Oh, so tired. Eric Zimmerman. Why do I know Eric Zimmerman? Interesting. My laptop has died, so on you. 856 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Man, been a busy show interview-wise. Dialing all the way back to the 6 o'clock hour when we talk with Jeff Crouere, host of Ringside Politics, about what's going on in New Orleans, and really stepping aside from, the facts of the investigation, which we had plenty of that as well, but having the access to someone who hosts a radio show in New Orleans, I wanted to dig in on the vibe a little bit. What's the general feel right now down there, as far as obviously they are in mourning, but at the same time, though, we are a month and 2 days away from the Super Bowl, a Super Bowl that's going to have every eyeball in the world on it, especially after the terror attack. We are on day 2 of the carnival season, and it's supposed to be a big Mardi Gras. Like, where are we? Where is the city of New Orleans in welcoming in the rest of the world for those events? So great stuff from Jeff Crouere. Will be available on demand at talk1073.com. Lori Melancon from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber was incomparable, like beyond compare. Her passion and fire for where Baton Rouge is headed was remarkable. If you missed that, also talk1073.com. As well, you're also going to find Dr. Cade Brumley talk about education in the state. You're also going to find Mike Wattigny talk about the Louisiana Marathon, and then, of course, just Ross Jackson on talking about the Saints head coaching search. Right now, let's step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish. It's time for the Outside In. Starting off in New Orleans, President Joe Biden reminded residents they are not alone as the city recovers from that terror attack on New Year's morning. Biden spoke at the St. Louis Cathedral during a visit to the city yesterday. Heading over to Tenchbo Parish, deputies are asking for assistance in locating a man suspected of raping a child in Tenchbo and St. Helena parishes. 34-year-old Kentel Sims of Greensburg, wanted for first-degree rape, indecent behavior with a juvenile, and sexual battery. In St. Helena, he's wanted for 4 counts of first-degree rape of a victim under the age of 13 and 4 counts of indecent behavior with a juvenile. Next stop, Ascension Parish. Tim Riley was sworn in as the first black mayor of Gonzales on Monday at the Price LeBlanc Pace Center, along with other city officials. Riley said he's honored to serve the people of Gonzales. He said while taking office, his main priorities would be improving the city's drainage system and traffic problems, while also partnering with Chief Sherman Jackson to improve public safety. Closing out in southwestern Louisiana. Yeah, I don't have a parish nailed down on this because they didn't give any details. The state health department said Monday a Louisiana man hospitalized with the first human case of the bird flu in the United States has died. The agency said the patient was over the age of 65. He did have underlying medical conditions. The patient contracted H5N1 after exposure to a combination of non-commercial backyard flock and wild birds. That's going to do it for the Outside In. That's going to do it for us. Tomorrow, we got attorney Richard Sprinkle in for Franz Borchardt for Legally Served. And, full slate heading your way. Right now, here comes Moon Griffon. All right, y'all. I got to skedaddle. I got to put together tomorrow's show before getting out of here for lunch. So, man, it's busy times, man. We're getting so all week long. I've got meetings on top of meetings talking about Washington Mardi Gras for logistics. So we're working on all the background stuff right now. We'll see y'all tomorrow.